Hey there, lovely people. Welcome to Be Your Best You with Tash and Becky, your go-to hangout for all things spiritual, subconscious, and downright magical. We're here to sprinkle a little mystical wisdom into your everyday life and help you level up your reality.
Picture this as your cosmic coffee date, where we chat about the unseen world, blend in some psychology vibes and stir up the subconscious magic. Get ready to be the queen of your own reality, live a life that lights you up and have a blast doing it.
So grab your latte or your tea and let's dive into another episode of Be Your Best You, where the mystical meets the mundane and your best life awaits.
Cheers to creating magic together.
Let's do this.
Hi guys! We've just had a major technical error before this, but hopefully you guys won't know because that's the joy and beauty of editing, isn't it? Before we start, we just want to draw your attention. For those who are watching, you might notice something different. For those who are listening, we have little microphones. So we're hoping that the sound might be a little bit better, maybe a bit of an improvement for you guys, because the nature of where we are in my room where I work, it's got open ceilings. So it's not acoustically the best room to work with. It's a great therapy room. It's not a great podcasting room. Yeah. And we were using just one kind of open mic. So now we have our two little mini microphones. We're very professional. We're feeling very professional here.
We feel like newsreaders, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Also, you have no idea how long we just spent before recording this podcast working out. Do we have it clipped up to the top of our t-shirt? Oh, that looks a bit weird. Do we clip it to our bra? Just pin it to our t-shirt? So we've got them clipped to our bra, just so you know. Just anyway.
I think that looks okay.
I think it's great. And anyway, it's hopefully the sound is what's important, not the looks.
No.
And hopefully this will make a more pleasant listening experience.
Hopefully, yes.
So, okay, let's stop talking about our microphones now and we'll get into it. Today we thought we would have a chatty one. And we don't really know where it's going to go, do we?
No,
We just had this conversation. We don't know. We're just gonna flow with it. But like the main thing we want to talk about today is a feeling of responsibility, because it's come up a fair amount in my client sessions at the moment. And it's funny, isn't it? Everything always kind of comes up, doesn't it? You have it in one area of your life, and then it pops up in every area, and you think, okay, I need to pay attention to this one. So I'm taking it as a sign. To say maybe other people need to hear this. Maybe this is going to be helpful for you guys listening. So what I specifically want to talk about today, which I think will probably resonate with a lot of our listeners, just for the fact of who they are as a person, is feeling responsible for other people. Yeah. Feeling responsible for external circumstances. And actually, as a result of that, it has a really detrimental effect on you. And it's kind of like the opposite side of the spectrum from what we were talking about in terms of victim mentality. Yeah. But actually, really, it does play into victim mentality too. Yeah. Because you're making yourself a martyr. Now, we were talking about this, weren't we? Like, you know, with victim mentality, the way we were talking about it in episode 2 or 3, we were talking maybe episode 3, and if you haven't listened to that one, go back and listen to that one, because you need to listen to it, don't you? It's like a starter. That's why it was one of our earlier ones. You need to have that understanding, that awareness, to be able to have these deeper conversations with yourself, I think, and understand them on a deeper level. That's going to help you. But yeah, this still plays into that feeling, that victim mentality mode, because you're making yourself a martyr. And I can speak to this because I was 100% a martyr. 100%. Actually, funnily enough, in my human design, we haven't spoken about human design on this postcode podcast yet. That's a whole nother topic. I need to get a human design expert to come in and speak about it, because I can only give the basics from what I've learned, but I would love to have someone come in. That would be helpful, wouldn't it?
Fascinating.
We'll do that. But in my human design, everyone's going to Google human design. What is human design now? I am a martyr. I have like the martyr, qualities, or whatever. So interesting. But don't be a martyr, people.
No.
It doesn't help you. It really, really doesn't. And it doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve people around you. So if you are taking responsibility or feeling responsible for other people, you are still playing a victim.
Right.
That could be quite hard to hear, can't it?
Yeah.
Because you're doing it from a caring place,
Yes.
aren't you? Like when you're doing it, you are. It's because you want people to feel better.
Yeah.
You don't want people to feel a certain way. You feel responsible for their feelings, but actually when you get down to it, you want them to feel a certain way because that makes you feel safe, good, enter the good feeling here. Yes. So when you think about it like that, you're like,
oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's deep, isn't it?
It is deep, and it does make you kind of like just go, yeah. You have to almost follow the breadcrumbs down, don't you? Peel back the layers, get deeper and deeper until you actually really do see that even though you're trying to make people feel comfortable and you're trying to make them feel happy, or you're trying to manage their emotions, actually what you're trying to do is manage your own.
Right. Wow.
So I mean, I don't know,
but very easy to slip into, isn't it? Like you say, especially if it is your human design, and this is what it's good to talk about, isn't it? Because we're slipping into these things and we don't even realise we're doing it. We have no idea.
No, and you know, it's like it's part of your identity, isn't it? Because this is why I said a lot of our listeners will probably identify with feeling responsible for, you know, how other people feel and how other people, like what other people are doing in their life, like helping them, like maybe taking away burdens from them onto themselves. Like people feel that way because of, you know, they'll say, well, I'm just a caring person. And you are, like, absolutely you are. And you never want to get rid of that. And this is a conversation that I have with my clients when we're working on this kind of stuff. We don't take away that caring part of you because that's who you are. And that's like what you like to do. It's what comes naturally to you to do in a certain way. But the problem is then when you know, go through life and you have, like we've spoken about time and time again, this programming, you know, it's when you step into the kind of people pleasing scenarios. You have certain childhood experiences where you might have had an emotionally immature parent. You might have had a narcissistic parent. You know, there's loads of things that could have happened in your childhood around you and with your caregivers that have made you feel like you have, because you felt unsafe at that time, that you've had to walk on eggshells around your parents or a parent figure. And the way that you as a little child would make yourself feel safe is to try to manage other people's emotions, i.e. your parents or your caregivers at the time. You would do that because as a child, you aren't in control of your safety, are you? You are, those adults, those caregivers are responsible for you, and you can't look after yourself as a child in so many ways, can you?
No.
So the only thing you can do is to place that focus outside on your external circumstances and try and control that, because you can't do it for yourself. And this is where the problems start. You know, this is where you start developing the people-pleasing habits. You lose your sense of identity because you're constantly focusing on managing everything outside of you. It's a form of control. It's protective. And at the time when you were a child, you needed, that was right. That was for survival. Right. So it was actually a helpful tool to get you through a tough childhood. And again, like we said before in the trauma episode, I'm not just talking about, you know, a really abusive childhood. You could still be sat here now thinking, well, my childhood was, I had a nice childhood, I was lucky, I was okay. But if you did have a parent who was, you know, who just couldn't regulate their own emotions, who had unresolved anger, that, you know, their whole programming that they haven't addressed into their adult life, that is going to cause you as a child, if you're that way inclined, to then start controlling your external circumstances. Now, not everybody does that. And again, this is how it can, you know, a group of people could be in the same situation and each one of them could come out with different coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
So someone could come out as a people pleaser,
Yeah.
and walking on eggshells and trying to control everyone else. Another
Yeah.
person could go very insular into themselves,
Yeah.
or go into a state of flight.
Yeah.
You know, so the people that are trying to control, walking on eggshells and trying to control other people's feelings, they're in a state of what we call fawn. They're fawning. So you've got fight, flight, freeze, and fawn.
Right.
So they're fawning. It's like you will do whatever you can to to bow down, bend to everybody else, to keep the peace, to keep the safety.
Yeah.
Someone else might be in that situation and bolt, freeze, flight, go into flight, just run away from everything, run away from their feelings, run away from the external, you know, so constantly on a state of stress, always maybe searching externally for distractions.
Yeah.
Someone could also go into freeze and just dissociate, just remove themselves from it and be somewhere else, which is why when you're in that state, typically you don't have a lot of memories around your childhood, because you've just completely dissociated, you've taken yourself out, and you don't consciously recollect anything. It's always in your subconscious mind, which is why hypnotherapy is so great, because we can access all of those memories, because it's always recording. We can access them through hypnosis. So even though you don't consciously remember them, they're still there. So don't worry, you've always got your memories there, and you'll always be able to access them. You just have to do it in a subconscious way.
Right.
And hypnotherapy is not the only way. You know, meditation, breath work, moving your body, somatic, you know, stretches, a great way to, you don't always have to intellectually understand it, but hypnosis is a great way to be able to do that. I've gone on off at a bit of a tangent there, but just to say that we don't all end up taking responsibility. Some people don't feel like they feel responsible for other people's feelings.
They go the other way and don't care about anybody's feelings.
Exactly. But again, to say that's why having that conversation that we've just had there is really helpful, because it's not that they're horrible people, or they're bad people, or they're selfish people, although it may come across as that in the external world. It is because during the time that it happened in that trauma as a child, their protective mechanisms went into flight or freeze, you know, whereas specifically what we're talking about today is those people who are fawners.
Right.
So those of you now as adults who find themselves in people-pleasing behaviours, not being able to speak up for yourself, trying to keep the peace, being scared of confrontation, you know, all of that kind of placating, that's the fawning side of it. And that all comes from something back in childhood. That's what you've learned as your protective mechanism. And like I said, back then, we needed it. As children, that was our survival. That was our protection. That was great. And the problem is you get to a certain age, you're not a child anymore. You can take care of yourself. You can remove yourself from situations, things that you couldn't do as a child. Obviously, as an adult, you can do. But those programs, those behaviors have become so ingrained in your subconscious, such a habit, such a natural state. You identify with it. It becomes who you are, your identity. Oh, well, I like to make sure everybody feels nice, you know, and then it doesn't serve you anymore, and it actually goes the opposite way and causes you issues, i.e. anxiety, massive one, overthinking, catastrophizing, feeling numb, losing yourself. Who am I don't even know what makes me happy, you know, and everything else that comes with that, in relationships, trapped in toxic relationships. Typically, you know, people who feel like that will attract someone who is a bit more on this phrase gets bandied around a lot, narcissistic, you know, but on that spectrum of, again, someone who's looking for someone to manage their emotions. It's no wonder that an empathetic person, an empath, and a narcissist will naturally be drawn together, because you're both giving each other what you need. You know, that you want to manage people's feelings. Well, you don't want to, but subconsciously that's what you're doing. And the person that you're attracting is going to be someone who doesn't want to take personal responsibility and wants someone else and expects someone else subconsciously, for the most part, to manage their feelings. Oh, a match made in heaven, aren't you? But it's not based on healthy bonds. Like, this is where the whole
No.
trauma bonding comes in.
Right.
And that's a really interesting conversation to
Yeah.
have. You know, that we have secure attachment. So it's like attachment styles. It's a whole kind of psychological theory based on childhood attachments. And you have a secure attachment, you have an anxious attachment, you have an avoidant attachment, and you have a disorganized attachment.
Right.
And it's depending on kind of like what you learn as a child,
Right.
and like what I was talking about, what state you were in, fight, flight, freeze, fawn,
Yeah.
as to what kind of attachment you have. And then when you start recognizing what kind of an attachment person you are, and you see who you're attaching with, you can see why you're with the partner that you're with, and it just helps you really understand yourself and other people, and work to making your relationship work despite your trauma bonds, basically, so that you can both help each other to form secure attachments. Again, a bit of a tangent, but I think this is all really helpful to people. I've kind of given a few things there where you might want to think, well, I'm going to go and have a look into attachment styles. Helps you to really understand yourself, this fight, flight, freeze, fawn type thing. What am I? Am I a fawner? And like I said, I would probably hasten to guess the majority of people listening to this are fawners, do feel responsible for people. It's those carers, the nurturers, you know, and you know, we've spoken here already for like 16 minutes and haven't even got into the whole taking responsibility thing, but I think it's actually really important that you understand this about yourself, because these behaviors are so subconscious and they're so part of our identity. Sometimes you don't even realize that you're doing it, or that it can be changed because it's part of your identity. You just think, well, that's just who I am, you know, but it's not. And you can take parts of it that you like and that's helpful, i.e. the caring part, the nurturing part, but then you can leave the leftover remnants of that attachment and the protective way that you learnt that to do as a child, you know. So it really helps to go back and look at your parents and how you felt as a child around your parents, to help you identify whether you are that type of person, you know. So let's talk about taking responsibility for people's feelings, because it's really powerful when you're that type of person, this people pleasing person, to understand that you do not have to feel responsible for people and their emotions, and actually you can never ever be responsible. You're fighting a losing battle. It is a losing game, truly, because, you know, even from the things we've spoken about in our podcast, I think we've already made it clear, you cannot control anybody else. You cannot control any other external circumstance. The only thing you can control is yourself. And when you realize that, and hopefully like our podcast episodes have kind of shown that, you realize you are fighting a losing battle when you're trying to manage other people's feelings. It doesn't matter how great you think you are, and I say that in terms of, you know, how much you're doing people a favor and how kind you think you're being. You are only doing yourself and them a disservice. So let's talk about for yourself first. You know, when you're constantly trying to take responsibility for other people, what does that mean? It means that you're not taking responsibility for your own feelings. You're putting yourself to the back of the pile, the end of the priority, and you're placing all of your focus, all of your attention on making everybody else feel good,
because it's coming from a place of fear.
Because
you don't want to acknowledge your own.
It's well, yes, sometimes it can be that, but it's this protective mechanism coming in again. If everybody else can feel good, you know, if everybody else is happy, then I can be happy. So you're placing your happiness on other people. Well, how out of control are you when you're doing that?
No.
Like
you're not going to be happy, are you? If
you're going to go like this.
That's right.
You're going to never truly be happy. No, you might have bursts of happiness. And so, for example, you know, let's talk about if you you're, you know, the main person that you're trying to placate, feel responsible for, is your husband or your partner. Okay, you know, this does mean like you are never feeling in control of your life. If he comes home and he's had a great day at work and things are going right for him, and he walks through the door and he's like, la la, I'm happy, you can be like, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Thank
Today's
goodness.
happy.
Today's a good day. I can be happy. But there's going to always be that little voice in the back of your mind going, but how long is this going to last?
Yeah.
When I know it's only a matter of time that he's going to get grumpy again, and then I know that I'm going to suffer for that. And sure enough, of course, because he's a human and he's allowed to have his ups and downs.
Yeah.
So you might have a really bad day at work. Yeah. Someone might have really pissed him off, whatever, a series of unfortunate events has happened. He comes home and you can feel his anxiety. And now again, because as a child you learn to be on high alert, to walk on eggshells, to be aware of everybody, your parents' feelings. You pick up on all these subtle signs. You'll notice body language. You'll look and you'll think, oh, he doesn't look very happy. You are picking up on all of their signs because you've got such a heightened state of awareness. You're so in tune with people's body language, with their energy, that straight away you're like, oh my God, this isn't going to be good tonight. He's in a bad mood. And you will go straight into your autopilot behavior of trying to make sure that he feels happy, trying to make sure that you are safe. And that might look like behaviors like, I don't know, doing things you don't want to do. Like, let's be honest, or again, putting your own need. Let's take a really, really stupid example and say what you really wanted to do that evening, what you had planned and what felt good to you would be to have a quick dinner. Nothing major. Have a bath, watch some kind of crappy programs that you like to watch on TV, right? But now he's come in, he's in a mood, and you're like, oh my God, I have to make sure that he's going to be okay. I need to make sure that he's all right. Again, it's subconsciously, it's because I need to make sure I'm safe and that I feel okay. And all you're trying to do is get him back to being happy so that you can feel happy, right? So now you're trying to control how he feels. So let's forget now about my quick dinner, my bath and my bed, and what does he want to do? Or he wants to have steak and egg and chips and like this massive dinner that's going to make a mess and mean you have to clean up those. He wants to watch some program or the football that you really, really don't want to watch, and so you'll do all of that. You'll sit there and you'll watch that football. You'll waste your whole evening completely neglecting your needs and feeling responsible for making him happy so that you can be happy, right? You've completely neglected yourself. You haven't done anything that lights you up. No. You don't feel happy, and the chances are you probably haven't made him any happier. No. Because he doesn't appreciate what you've done, and he didn't ask, maybe, necessarily. He didn't necessarily ask, didn't expect you to do it, but you've gone in and done it anyway because you felt that responsibility for having to do it. But you haven't made him feel any better. You certainly haven't made yourself feel any better. You might feel like you've grasped hold of a little bit of safety because you're controlling the situation and because you're actively at least going out of your way to try and make him feel better, so that might make you feel a little bit better. But the chances are you're going to go to bed, he's still going to be off, and you're going to go to bed with that anxious feeling in your chest, and you've completely disregarded your own needs. And that's just one very small silly example, and there can be much bigger ones than that, but it's the smaller ones really that build up day over day, week, years over years and years. And then you can see how that gets women, and I'm talking women here mostly, to be honest with you, it gets women to a point where they don't know what they need. They don't know how, they don't know what makes them happy. They don't know how to make themselves happy. They couldn't even tell you how to do it. And they're in this relationship where the partner is expecting this of them. They're expecting you to give and give and give, because why wouldn't they?
Who you are.
It's who you are. It's what you've always done. It's what your relationship involves, and the more you do that, the more they expect it. It becomes normal. The bond, this trauma bond, gets stronger and stronger until you either break and snap, you say I've had enough and do a runner, or have a breakdown, or you put your foot down and say I'm not doing this anymore, and then your other half's like, hey,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah.
Get back in line,
Yeah.
kind of thing, you know. And again, I'm being very kind of brash here, but it's not so obvious as that. But it, you know, on a subtle level, that's what's happening, and you can see why. No one's wrong here. Okay, listen, I'm not talking about abusive, you know, relationships, emotional abuse, physical abuse. I'm not talking about it in that. There's nuances to this, but on the whole, it is the same spectrum.
Yeah,
it's just whether it's on a real high end of the spectrum or a lower end. You know, this is what's happening, and this is why we have so many women who feel unfulfilled, who feel numb, who don't know what they want for their lives, who feel completely unseen, unheard, underappreciated, because they've spent their whole lives feeling responsible for other people.
Yes, and putting their happiness onto somebody else. So they are dependent on somebody else to make them feel happy. Yeah. So they actually don't know what, I suppose if you ask most of these, like you say, they're usually ladies, what lit them up, they probably wouldn't know.
No, they don't. Because this is what I do in my 6-month program. You know, it's 6 months for this reason, because we're literally going into stuff like that. We have to do the work around the trauma from the childhood and understanding why you are that way first, before we can start then saying, right, well, now let's work on what does actually light you up, what does make you happy, what you actually do want. And that's why we have the 6-month program. I'm going through with them with a fine-tooth comb, digging it out on a real deep level, like getting them back to find out who they are, like who am I? And that's what I'm helping them do. And it's a journey and it's a process. But yes, like when I first asked them, they sit there and they just like, I don't know. And I really have to coax it out of them, because they've just spent their whole life. I did the same thing, like sacrificing their own needs for everybody else's. And I feel like we've been heavily speaking about partners, but it's not just about partners. You know, you can have that kind of relationship, continue it on with your parents, with your siblings, with your children, big ones, like, because again, they're tough, because you do have a responsibility for them, obviously, you do, but you are still, and we've spoken about this before, you are not responsible for their feelings. You are responsible for the care, for their love, for meeting their basic human needs, but you are not responsible for their feelings and for controlling their life. We have to let our children do this and learn this for themselves, because when you don't, they grow up to be adults who don't know how to regulate their emotions, and they don't know how to give themselves that safety, you know, to balance their own nervous systems, because we take it away from them as adults. We do take that away from them from a place of caring, but nevertheless, we're not setting them up to be healthy, secure adults who know that their happiness relies solely on them, to know that their only responsibility is for themselves, and they're not responsible for other people. And importantly, again, going back the other way, other people aren't responsible for them either. This is God. If everybody could just take responsibility for themselves and understand that that's all it is, everyone would be so much happier. And you'd think that, again, for people who are carers, people pleasers, nurturers, have learnt fawners, you know, now I've explained what that is, they think that it's selfish to not put other people first and to put themselves first. And that's a big part of my work. You're a bad person, you're selfish, it's wrong, you feel guilty. And that's a big part of my work that I have to do to help unprogram them to realize that it's actually a necessity,
isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a necessity to put yourself first, for yourself and for others around you. Everybody else benefits when you realize that you don't have to take responsibility for them. You know, and I was having this conversation with one of my clients. It was a really interesting conversation outside of our sessions, and you know, I gave an example where I said someone in my life had asked me if I wanted to go to this particular place with them. And I stopped and I thought about it, and I was like, do I want to go? And I thought, no, I don't.
No.
I don't want to go. But straight away in my mind, I was like, oh, that person's going to feel disappointed, you know, And then, but because of all this work that I've done, straight away, I just thought, no, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
It's okay to disappoint people, because this responsibility comes very closely linked with fear of judgment, worry that you're going to disappoint people, worry what they're going to think of you, worry that you're a bad person. There's that playing into it as well, not just this whole safety
you
thing.
don't want to be the reason for someone else's unhappiness, because you're all about making people happy.
Exactly. And this is where it still, that comes back to the responsibility, and this disappointment is a really big part of it. So I just thought, I don't want to do it. I'm okay to disappoint people. This is kind of a mantra I have to have, and I've had to have when I've been training myself out of the people-pleasing behaviours. It's okay to disappoint people. It's okay to disappoint people. I am not responsible for other people's feelings. They are adults. You know, I am going to disappoint people. Oh, that's a tough one. I am going to disappoint people. But as soon as you realise and say that to yourself and believe that, I am going to disappoint people, well, where's the fear then? The fear gets taken away, you know? So I said, I don't want to go. And then a conversation ensued, oh, please, you know, da la 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 la. And again, before I would know that would have made me buckle. And I've gone, oh, okay, she's making this really difficult for me now. I feel like I need to like make her feel. And I still said, no, I don't want to, because it's not for me, you know? And yes, I sensed disappointment, but I'm okay with that, right? So I gave this as an example to my client, and she was like, oh yeah, but you know, that's fine, because that's something just little, you know, she's going to be disappointed, but she won't think you're a bad person because of it. I could do that. And I was like, oh, but no, wait, because what you actually don't understand is it goes so deeper than that. And there are other things, and I'm not going to go into it on here, because, you know, just respect for the privacy of, you know, people. But there was a whole deeper level, which I knew went much more than just disappointed that I wouldn't be at that event. It went much, much deeper, which I explained to her. And I said, and so can you see, you thought that was just a small thing, but actually it went a lot deeper than that. And it was about someone was going to be disappointed with me as a person, not just disappointed that I didn't go to an event, but disappointed with me as a person. And I'm still okay with that. I'm still okay with that. But also, you would have never have known that would have made that person disappointed with me. And so it makes no difference to you. But you can never know what's going on in someone's mind. I did know that. But what I'm trying to say is, it's hard to make it clear because I'm being a bit cryptic. But you can never understand, and you can never know what's going on in a person's mind. So how can you possibly expect to manage their emotions and their feelings and avoid disappointment and their thoughts and feelings about you as a person as well? Because you cannot know what people are judging you for and what people aren't judging you for. And think about it. You could say no to someone about going to a particular event and just think, well, okay, yeah, I'm just disappointed to them because of that event, and have absolutely no idea that they're really truly judging you as a person, and they think that you're an awful person, blah 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 blah. But if you're not aware of that, makes no difference to you. You don't even know. It's probably happening all the time. People are probably judging you all the time, and you don't even know. It's only when you think you know, you know, then you can start going, oh my God, I can't say that, because then they are going to be judging me as a bad person, and then I won't do that, and so now I have to give all of myself, and I have to do things I don't want to do. It's happening all the time, whether you know it or not. So why bother? Like, why bother worrying about it? You cannot. And at the same time, as you might think, oh my gosh, yes, this is going to be so bad, this person's going to be so disappointed in me and think this of a person, they could be sat there going, la, 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 la. Oh yeah, she said no. Oh yeah, I didn't even think about it. Like, what?
Exactly.
You know, you cause yourself so much stress and worry when you feel responsible for other people. And you could save yourself a whole load of energy, worry. Make your life so much happier when you can finally release this feeling of responsibility for other people, when you really truly do understand that you can never take as much as you think you are. You can't take it, and it is going to be a losing battle, and it's going to get you eventually, as I described before with the whole example of the partner situation. It's going to get you to a point where you can't do it anymore. You've lost your soul. You've completely, because every time you're doing it, you're disconnecting more and more and more from your soul, from who you truly are, from what's truly going to make you happy. And you'll get so far away that this is when you start this feeling numb. Who am I? Unfulfilled. And you know something needs to change, or something massive is going to happen in your life, which is going to make you have to look at it and address it, because it can't be ignored any longer. And why get there? Like, just don't leave it that, like, please don't leave it that long. Don't let it get there. You can do it now. You know, if any of the things that I've described feel like, oh my God, she's calling me out, this is me. Like, seriously, start really coming to grips with the fact that you are going to disappoint people. Like, you don't have it's
not on you, that's
not
on them, because they are responsible for their own feelings
100%.
So that's for them to deal with. And
it's a whole, you know, there's so much that goes in, that feeds into this, and to how you can stop it and how you work around it. It's why this is why I do my programs. This is who I work with, this person, this people pleasing person. This feeling of responsibility is just one area that we work on, along with a load of other areas. You know, fear of judgment, for example, is another big one that comes hand in hand. They're also intricately linked. And so you have to kind of work on them all together. But I just think this feeling of responsibility, when you can identify that you're doing it, it's a really great one to start being able to put yourself first, when you realize that you cannot take responsibility for other people. And again, like I said, on the other side of things, in terms of the victim mentality thing, you can't make other people responsible for you either. So this whole, like, well, he made me feel that way, or she made me feel that way, or her doing this made my life, you know, difficult. Nope. It's just as big a no-no as you trying to manage that other people's feelings. You know, it's the same thing, but on the different ends of the scale. And again, the only thing you need to focus on is choosing and to be responsible. And it is a choice, choosing to be responsible for yourself and only yourself. And please know that when you do this, your life will get better. And people around you, ironically, will then begin to change their behavior. So, you know, you're trying to get people to change their behavior by taking responsibility for them, but actually what you're doing is the opposite. You know, it's never going to go the way you want it to go. Whereas when you turn it back around onto yourself and you change yourself and you take responsibility for yourself, I guarantee you, because I've seen it and experienced it in my own life time and time again, and in the lives of my clients when they start doing it as well, and they come back and tell me, people around you will start changing their behavior to match yours. And yes, that might cause a little bit of like consternation. It might cause a little bit of uncomfortableness at first, because like we said, they're like, well, hey, this isn't your behavior. This isn't who you are. What are you doing? And they'll kick up a bit of a fuss. Of course they will. They've had it one way for years, potentially. You do something different, they're going to be like, what? Obviously. So it's going to feel uncomfortable, but stick with it, stay with it, because even when it feels uncomfortable, you're going to feel deep down better for doing it. But then you're going to start noticing that they stop pushing back, and they cannot help but change their behavior towards you, because you're solid in your behavior, you're strong, and you know what you're doing is for the best. And it's almost like they mold to fit with you, and it will make them happier. Because remember, again, these relationships are based on these insecure trauma bonds. So as soon as you taking responsibility for yourself pulls you towards having a secure attachment, you know, so like attracts like. You know, law of resonance, people will resonate with your vibration. If you start vibrating in a way, let's go back to energy, keep it really, you know, take it really back to basics. If you are vibrating from a frequency of I'm strong in myself, and I know what's my truth, I know what's best for me and everyone else, people are going to come up to match that vibration,
Yeah.
you know, and they're going to start reflecting that behavior back to you. And it's going to be good.
Yeah.
It is going to be good for you. And I suppose I have to put a disclaimer in here as well, is that if you're in a really toxic relationship, whoever that's with, when I say relationship, I don't just mean romantic, any kind of relationship, friendship, family, you know, partner, whatever, kids, bit different, but you can still have a toxic relationship with your children. There's no, that feels like, you know, might be difficult to hear, but you absolutely can. But yeah, sometimes you do this and it will cause a relationship to end in some way. You know, obviously if it's a toxic marriage or partnership, yes, you could potentially end up, you know, splitting up. But that's not going to be, it's going to be the natural way of things. Yeah. Because you continue to behave how you know is right for you, you're going to feel good. And although that would be difficult, because it is difficult when relationships break up, it's going to feel like it's the only thing that you can do. It's going to feel like the right thing to do. You know, if it's your parents, for example, you can't break up with your parents, but it might be that you distance yourself from them for a little while, or you stop the, you know, the toxic behaviors that you had and that you were acting, and just be like, no, I can't do this anymore. I won't do this anymore. You know, and then leave that up to them, and then they can decide to do things that are going to come in line with what you are ready to accept, or not. And then that's what, again, that's on them. Exactly. It's not you. You've got to do, and I know for someone who's not done this work, this might be, you know, the whole like, oh, it's easier said than done. You can't just do that. Again, be aware, because that's falling into victim mentality again. You absolutely can do this. It's the only thing you can do is control yourself. And when you do it, you will know, you know, if there's people that are listening who have started to do this work, they will know exactly what I'm talking about when I say it just comes to it's just naturally falls apart. Or you naturally do come together in a closer way than you've ever been before, and in a secure way. Everybody's coming at it from a healthy perspective, not from these protective trauma bond behaviors that served you when you were a child, that absolutely do not serve you as an adult.
No. And that sums it up, doesn't it?
It is. I think it is, isn't it? Yeah, it is. I mean, we could talk for ages on this feeling of, you know, responsibility for others, because, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that plays into it. You know, worrying what people think of you, fear of judgment. Am I a good enough person? I'm not good enough. I have to act a certain way in order to have friends. There's so many underlying beliefs that lead to you feeling this sense of responsibility, lead to these people-pleasing behaviours. And obviously, I've really kind of kept it around this whole trauma, learned behaviour as a child. And for the most part, you probably find that is what's happened. That's kind of been your upbringing around your caregivers. But again, these behaviours are all learnt through everybody's separate experiences. So it's really important to, again, look back to your childhood. It's always in your childhood, and look back to where these beliefs came from, you know, why you feel the way you do. And this is the work, this is a journey. And like I said, you know, you can absolutely do it on your own. This is what my programs are designed for. And it is easier when you have a guide and someone to help you see your life, because it's hard when you're in it, but also use the subconscious work, hypnosis, etc., in order to change all this programming, this protective programming, these learned beliefs that are stored in your subconscious mind. They are not in your conscious mind. Your conscious logical mind knows what it wants to do. Of course it does. You know you want to be able to speak up for yourself. You know you don't want to walk on eggshells around your partner when he comes in and he's grumpy and you're having a really great day and he's just ruined your day. You know that you don't want to do that. But your subconscious mind is the one that's controlling it. And the problem is everybody is trying to change these behaviors with their conscious mind, and it's going to be really, really, really tough to do it. And as you have experienced, you keep going back to the same old thing in it because you haven't reprogrammed your subconscious mind. And so you have to do that if you want to see real, true changes. So if anybody wants to know more about my programs and how to do that, then you could, all the details are in the show notes. You can message me, you can go on my website and have a look at my programs. But I'd love to have a chat. You can book in a 20-minute free consultation with me, no obligations, just to chat through, see if I'd be the right person for you, if you'd be the right person for me. And yeah, I just think it's such important work to do on yourself, to understand that you have to look back. Don't look at the now. The now's not the issue. It's your past. You need to work on the past in order to get these behaviours changed from the now. And as I said, there's just so many things, beliefs, learnings, understandings, family issues, etc., that play into this need or this feeling of having to feel responsible for everybody else.
And so, like you say, you can do it by yourself, but it's so really hard. So difficult to do that by yourself.
It is.
Without somebody else's perspective that's not emotionally involved. So it's so powerful, isn't it?
It really,
what you do.
Yeah, it really is. And I have just like messages every day. I had one this morning just saying, oh my God, I can't believe how my life has changed from doing this work. I can't believe how I would have behaved before, and now I'm standing up for myself and I'm saying this and this and this, and I truly believe it about myself. I know what I'm worth. I know, what I deserve. I know what I'm willing to accept, and I'm going to tell them. It's just incredible. It is and I truly think like these people, you guys who are the carers, who are the nurturers, who genuinely do come from, I keep banging my microphone, that's going to be something I have to sorry guys, if you've had banging, I know, I need to sit on my hands when I talk. But if you guys, you carers, you people who care and work from your heart, we need to get you out into the world doing what you are supposed to be here, what you've come here to do, because I just think you've all got such great work to do,
and it's being clouded, isn't it?
It's been dulled down, your light's been dulled down, you've been dulled down, and I guarantee you feel like you're meant for more, you're supposed to be doing something, and there's just something holding you back, and I know what it is. I know what it is. So you guys, you've got to step into, it sounds so cliche and cheesy, but I'm going to say it anyway. You've got to step into your power. You've got to step into your power that's there, that you have. Get rid of these layers. Get rid of this feeling responsible for everything else, the world, the people around you, your family, just people on the street that you don't even know. Stop feeling responsible for them and take responsibility for yourself and put yourself first, because then that's when you'll be able to help in a whole nother incredible way and do what you're meant to do here, because it's you guys, you caring guys, the people that have come from love, that the world needs more of, and you're the ones that are quiet. So yes.
Woo! Tash will get you all sparkling.
On that powerful note, we're going to leave. So we hope that you've enjoyed this podcast. It's interesting. We thought it was going to be a short one, didn't we? And look, it's still 50 minutes long. I can't help myself.
So interesting.
Yeah.
So interesting to listen to.
Right.
More. She'll tell me more later.
Carry on talking now. Right, guys. Well, as always, if you enjoyed the show, please, we would be so grateful if you could share it with your friends, with people that you think obviously will find it interesting, not just random people, because there's no point in that. If you haven't already, love it if you would give us a review or a 5-star rating, and come over and join us on our Facebook group if you would like to kind of get involved with us more, and join the conversation outside there. And other than that, and if you want to work with me, if you'd like to know more about my programs, my details are also in the show notes. I would love to have a chat with you. And with that, let's go. See you later, guys. Bye.